Hey everybody, it's Kenya, and this is the Thank You for Saying No podcast, where we find meaning in life's unexpected turns. Demi Mundo, welcome to the Thank You for Saying No podcast.
Wow, thank you for having me. I'm so excited. That felt surreal.
This is real. This is happening. This is iconic. So for the listeners at home, Demi is actually one of my best friends.
Aww.
And so I thought I would share how we met because it's a fun little story. And I actually met you in like a no moment that I was going through, like in my life. It was when I had just broken up with my boyfriend at the time. I had moved back to LA. I was working, let's not name the place where we met, but we'll call it the law firm. Yeah. And it was just a really tough time in my life. And I remember like every single day just crying behind my desk working at this law firm. And it was very brutal. But one good thing that did come of it was meeting a lifelong friend, which is you.
And I just want you all to know that like you couldn't even tell that Kenya was going through it the way that she was because she is constantly radiant and was laughing. Aww. And I just remember her being the girl in that cubicle that was just laughing.
Oh, yeah.
She was just laughing, whether it was nervous laughter or valid laughter. She just kept laughing through it all.
That's true.
And I was like, this girl seems silly. I need to, let's connect.
I think what really did it for me with you was Drake had just come out with Nice for What. And I remember thinking, like, this song was, like, about me. Like, he wrote it about me.
Yeah.
Like, 100% dead serious. And then I told you that. I was like, yeah, Drake just wrote this new song about me. You're like, no, wait, he wrote it about me.
Yes. And in that moment, we knew how much Aubrey Graham meant to both of us.
Yeah.
It was solidified.
The rest is history. So I'm really excited that you're here. You have just really grown over the since I've known you. So let's say I met you in 2018.
2018, yeah.
And you've really just grown so much, and it's been really beautiful to watch your success unfold. And so I'm really excited that you're here today. So for those who don't know Demi, she is an actress and a curve model who is all about body positivity and really making her mark in the industry. And so Demi, today I want to talk about the pivotal no's in your acting and modeling journey, and how that laid the foundation for where you are today, and also the lessons you've learned and the strength that you've found through it all.
Sounds beautiful. I'm excited. A little nervous, but excited.
No, it's going to be great. So let's start at the beginning when you were a kid, right? Because you got into acting as a child, right?
Yeah, I've been in the industry since I was literally 3 years old. So yeah. I'm a 90s baby. I was born in 93. And that's important because I was quite literally scouted in a mall. I was born in Las Vegas, scouted in a mall at the age of 3 years old. And my mom like knew something was different about me because I was dancing on the table, putting on a whole performance.
Oh, yes.
To The Little Mermaid, as I still do. And so I'm putting on a performance, dancing on the table. And my mom was like, this girl's different. My dad's like, yeah, she's just your daughter. And then I was scouted in the mall, like very classic 90s. And they were like, she needs to go to this acting school. She's gorgeous. And my mom was like, well, she does seem like she has a lot of fun, like just putting on little performances for us. So let's try it out. And my dad's like, if she hates it, it's over.
Yeah.
And so I went to the school and I had the time of my life. Like I remember some of my core memories being in the studio, working on commercials, working on the runway, and just having a really beautiful time. And I think as a child, I was going through a lot of very difficult things, and there were a lot of hardships happening in my family. So like going to my acting school was one of the slices of heaven that I had as a little kid.
Yeah.
And so I ended up getting signed with a top agency within the 3 years of me like working and just really pushing. Because at first my teacher just wanted me to be in school and focus on school and like.
Well, where are you? Are you in Las Vegas still?
I'm in Las Vegas.
And is the school in LA?
The school's in Las Vegas.
The school's in Las Vegas.
But I start getting called for auditions within a year of me going to the school.
Oh, wow.
And my parents are sacrificing to take me from Las Vegas to Hollywood to audition, because this was all in person in the 90s, within the same day for my dad to go back to work and bartend that night.
Wow.
And so I ended up getting signed with LA Talent, which was an incredible agency. They really started my career. I started getting huge auditions. And I ended up getting one for a film with Natalie Portman. And I had 3 callbacks. And for an actor, a callback is a really big deal.
Yeah.
Basically, it's your next step before booking the job. And there was one movie with Natalie Portman that my parents sat down with the producers and they were like, we want you to know that somebody's going to have to move out here with her. She's going to have to be on set for X amount of time. Like, this is going to be life-changing for her. And we need you to be prepared for that because we know that you're commuting from Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And that was my first really pivotal no, because my dad sat down with my mom and said, I adore her. I want all of her dreams to come true in this lifetime. But I need her to do it on her own as an adult. She needs to live her own childhood and she needs to experience the things that we experienced. And I remember that being so hard for my mom because she knew how much I loved it and how incredible and life-changing this would be for my whole family. But we just couldn't do that at the time.
Yeah.
And so my dad made my first no.
Yeah. And how has that changed or like shaped you as an actress today?
It changed the entire trajectory of my life, first of all. But I think that a dream was planted in me from a young age. Like, I am so thankful that my parents were supportive to let me have my first experience of going to acting school and being able to like be on set and do those things. But it really set that drive in me to pursue this dream that I've always had. So then from Las Vegas, we moved to San Diego. And in San Diego is when I got exposed to theater. And I started doing theater in middle school and theater in high school. And that really shaped a lot of who I was. Like, I was a big nerd and I was very academic, but I loved the arts. I loved performing. And I knew I would watch Disney Channel. Oh, I'd watch Camp Rock and High School Musical. And I was like, I want to be on there. I want to be on there. And I'd get so frustrated, but it kept me going. And I think that really was like one of the first things that I was like, I am thankful that my dad said no. But what really happened for me as an actor is it gave me the humanity that I think I have today. My family struggled tremendously. I grew up very low income in a very diverse cultural environment, like predominantly Latino. I am Cuban and Italian. I am Latina. I'm very proudly Cuban and Italian, but like being Latina is a part of my identity. And I grew up in the hood in San Diego. And I think that being able to experience those financial struggles, the things that I've seen as a young girl, from crime to, I don't know, just like the sacrifices that my parents made give me a richness now that I have as an adult for my acting that like I know I wouldn't have been able to bring at that young age.
Yeah. Like you're able to tap into your struggles and bring that to your art. Yeah.
Because a part of what I want to do as an artist is, and I think I'm doing it pretty successfully now to a degree with my modeling, but like is to continue to just represent. Like my dream was to always represent the little girl that had this dream. And like, I think it was hard too, because when I was little, I had, I had this certain look, but then as I started to grow older and puberty hit and my body started to change and I started to change into the person that I was going to be the rest of my life. This girl with curves and curly hair that never actually fit the standard. That wasn't the standard.
Yeah. And I actually want to talk about how you've changed the beauty standard from such a young age. I want to talk about the beauty pageants that you were in, which I love that you did that because I remember when I first found out that you won beauty pageants too, I was like, oh my God, you lived this whole life that I had no idea about. But one of the things I admire so much about you is that really from such a young age, you've been changing the beauty standard in the industry and taking up space and loudly taking up space. And I think in a really graceful way and a very kind way. And so I want to talk about that. You guys, Demi is so cool. She was literally Miss Teen Oceanside, right? Then you were Miss San Diego Woman of Achievement. And then you were Miss California Woman of Achievement, where you won runner-up and Miss Congeniality. And so I want to talk about the no's and the obstacles you faced in the beauty pageants. Tell us about
So actually, funny enough, it started... Okay, I always wanted to do beauty pageants. When I found out they were a thing when I was 5 years old, because I was because those industries at the time were very mixed up, like modeling, acting, beauty pageants, like child pageants were a big thing. And I was like, I want to do it all. I want to be dressed up and have fun and play around and be a princess. Like, that's just
Yeah.
who I am. And so
It is. It really is.
and so I just wanted to do it so bad, but my mom knew that industry was really tough at that time. And she was just like, no, that's not something we're going to do. So actually, at the same time, my dad was telling me, no, she's not going to pursue acting. My mom was telling me, no, you're not going to do pageants.
Mm.
And for so long, I wanted to do them. I would see other girls do them. But my first opportunity was in high school at the age of 16. I heard about the Miss Teen Oceanside pageant. And funny enough, it was actually the first year they opened up the teen division. They
Mm.
only ever had a Miss division.
Okay.
And so it was for adults to enter. And I was like, okay, maybe I can present it. You know, growing up in a very like strict, protective Latino Italian home, my family was like, you're not doing that. You're not going to sleepovers. You're not going to do this.
Yeah.
They were just protecting me, and they didn't want me to get hurt from the
Yeah.
outside world, the
It's
rest
a
of the
harsh.
world.
Yeah.
And so I, at that time, was developed into the body that I had. And I think part of what made me so fearless, though, is while my family was so protective, they were so fiercely loving. And I
Mm.
have to give a shout out to my mom and my dad, because no matter how my body has changed, no matter how my hair has changed or how my hair has looked or how different I felt, they've always told me how beautiful I am. And the
Mm.
people that told me that I was ugly or pushed me out or rejected me were from outside of my family.
Yeah.
And I think having that support system at home telling me that I can do anything in this lifetime and I am beautiful just the way that I am, no matter how my body fluctuates, regardless of doctors telling me that I am an obese child or or like kids bullying me at school and putting stuff in my hair. Like,
Yeah.
I think the core of it, my family telling me that I am who I am and that I am beautiful, that gave me the power to step out into the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So when I had a break to be like, it's for a scholarship, I can do it. I know that I can. Please just let me. My mom said, Miha, I'm going to let you do this. But you know how beauty pageants are.
Yeah.
They're not for women like us. And she supported me anyway. She said, we're gonna do this. We're gonna try to figure it out. I remember my parents scrounging money to get me a dress from Nordstrom Rack and like figuring it out.
Yeah.
And I did it, and I won my first title. And I remember that was such a magical moment.
Mm-hmm.
And because I was like, I can do this. I can do this.
Yeah.
And then from there, there's an itch in the pageant industry. You're like, okay, the next title. What's the next title?
What was your experience in the pageant space? Like, was it what your mom was trying to protect you from? Is that how you experienced it?
So it was tough.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I want to put a trigger warning here, but competing in pageants, while they were so beautiful, and I was so fiercely myself, I remember that was really the first catalyst for me to experience like disordered eating and like trying to fit myself into the molds, no matter how confident I felt. And like I've always known that I've been like, I am who I am. I'm beautiful no matter what's going on. But
yes,
like,
you are.
thank you. And you are too. But it's like I genuinely remember subconsciously doing these things, and I started to run, and I like was literally just running and trying to change my body to fit what I thought was better for the pageant industry. And it's so hard and sad for me to think about that version of myself, because I'm so confident and proud of who I am now, and feel like I could win a title now just as I am. But like, I sometimes wish I can give that girl a hug.
Yeah.
Because as confident as I was and as proud of all of me that I am, I was changing myself.
Yeah. And so what made you not like kind of stop and just be like, oh no, this isn't the space for me? Like, what made you want to keep pushing and be there and be proud and be like your vibrant self?
It was actually in college. So I ended up winning the Miss Congeniality and the runner-up title in college. And it was like I want to say it was my third year of college. And I remember I had so many people commenting on my dedication of going to the gym and how much I've changed in just a few months. There was a period of a few months, and my roommates actually approached me, and they're two of my best friends still to this day, but they were like, hey, your eating's kind of concerning us. And I remember I did that pageant, and I was like, I don't want to do this way anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this way. And I ended up stepping away from the pageant industry.
Mm-hmm.
And while I didn't step back, it was basically to refocus. And I think in that moment, I had to tell myself no, because I did want to continue on. I did want to win the Miss California state title.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that it wasn't a healthy space for me, and I
Yeah.
needed to step away.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the beauty industry and the standards that are out there are very, I think a lot of like women experience how taxing they can be and like unrealistic, and taking care of our mental health and like kind of rechanging how what we think is beauty and finding that within ourselves is really, really important.
Absolutely. And I think that like it was just a really coming of age time for me, because it was my early 20s. My frontal cortex wasn't developed yet. So that's a whole other issue. Yeah. But like, it was just a really treacherous time. And I was trying to find myself in a space like in the pageant industry, but also at the school that I was going to, the diversity just wasn't very present. And I actually like as a Latina was one of the minorities. And I just was trying to, specifically in that moment, grapple at like finding a space and finding myself. And I think that like from childhood up until that moment, I really felt like I knew who I was. But in that moment, I like, it was a restart.
Yeah.
I was like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Why am I changing myself to have boys like me be smaller to win these pageants? Like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think from there, it really helped me change my perception of my own beauty and my relationship specifically with food and fitness.
Yeah. And I want to talk about your kind of route to LA and the importance of being in LA for you. And I know this was a journey in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to talk about some of the no's along you getting to LA. But did you feel like LA was like where you kind of needed to be for your acting career?
I've always dreamt of being in LA. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember coming and driving through the tunnels and going through downtown and driving through Hollywood with my parents. I knew this is where I always wanted to be. I didn't know how I was going to get there though. And I at first tried to apply to schools out here. I tried to apply to UCLA. I tried to apply to schools that had really good film programs, Chapman, anything that was closer to LA. And I got denied from them.
Yeah.
But I got accepted to UCSD, which was an incredible school, and actually has one of the top theater programs in the nation, but it's just not as well known. It was just home.
Yeah. So did you still do acting in San Diego?
Yes. So in San Diego, I did theater, but it wasn't film or television or commercial or anything that I really wanted to be doing. And during that time, stop the pageants. I ended up focusing on my senior year of college. I focused on my health and trying to come back from my disordered eating and just kind of set myself up what's gonna happen after graduation.
Yeah.
And at that time, my family was going through so much. We had like 5 people more than usual living in our house. My abuelita, my tia, like it was a whole family affair. And while it was a beautiful and special time, it was also very difficult.
Yeah.
And I knew my mom needed me to come home. And so instead of trying to figure out how I was going to come to LA, I needed to figure out how I was going to help my family. I needed to figure out how I was going to financially support them because we were really struggling. And so I ended up getting a job as an emergency, and it was at Jamba Juice. Fun fact, I worked at Jamba Juice for many years.
Oh my God, I had no idea.
But that was like a very quick solution, and I worked there and I appreciated Jamba Juice for that time, but I needed to hustle. I needed to make more money. And so I started working at the law firm.
In San Diego. Yeah.
And when I started in San Diego, I told them from the moment I interviewed, I said, I'm meant to be in LA. I'm going to LA. I don't know how long I'm going to be here. I appreciate this opportunity, but I'm going to be moving to LA as soon as I possibly can.
Yeah.
And within a year of me being in San Diego at that firm, they said, hey, Demi, we have an opportunity in LA and we would love for you to interview.
And that's where our paths crossed, because I met you in LA at the law firm. So I want to highlight how your journey getting to LA, what you had to do to get to LA, because sometimes like we hear stories, people just, came with $1 in their wallet or whatever and just fucking made it work. But I think it's really profound that you, even though it took you a little bit longer, you had to be more secure financially. You had to like finish school and support your family and just recognize that the things you had to do, but the fact that you still made it here, I think is just really, I want to acknowledge that.
Thank you. No, truly, it was a journey. And once I finally made it to LA, I was like, oh, I can breathe. But little did I know the next chapter was starting.
Oh my God. Yeah. And so when you started acting in LA, like how were there some no's in there? Like there was a transition period for you, I know.
It was tough.
Yeah.
It was really tough. And I think so many actors and people trying to make it in LA that are trying to do entertainment, it's the balance of survival versus pursuing your dreams. And it's so, so real. And on top of that, I had the external pressure of helping my family and making sure that they were set up.
Yeah.
And so for me, I worked at the law firm, right? I got here. I was so excited. I was like, it's go time. I started acting classes. I got this agent that I thought was going to be incredible.
Yeah.
Oh my. And little did I know. So basically, working at the firm, I was working 80 hours.
I know. It was insane.
No, you know.
It was,
know, I basically slept
as
there.
legal assistants. Like, we're not even, like, we're just, no. Yeah.
We're not getting paid enough to do that. But we were busting our butts to make it, to just make the survival happen. And so I was working 80 hours a week. I was absolutely exhausted. And I remember I was like drinking a venti cold brew.
Yeah.
And this is where I actually started going to the gym very regularly because I was like, I need to do one thing in the day to keep my mental health. Yeah. Because it wasn't about, at this point, my fitness was not about changing my body, was not even about like my strength or anything like that. It was about my mental health and my survival. So I started going to the gym at 5 a.m. It was the only time I had. And so I went to the gym, would go to work, and honestly didn't have any time to submit for auditions, didn't have any time to look for a better agent, didn't have any time for anything. And so it was really discouraging. And I was just like, what am I doing? So in that moment, it took a full year of me being in LA, busting my butt at the firm to be like, I need to change. I need to figure something else out. Yeah. And so then I ended up working at that tech company.
Because that gave you more flexibility for auditions and stuff, right?
So it was far more relaxed. And I was like, okay, I need to figure this out and really take this seriously. But I think in this time, between working at the firm and working at the tech company, I was like still trying to figure myself out. And I was taking acting classes and I had gone to a new agency at this time. So basically when I left the firm, I left my agent that I was with and went to another. And I thought this agency was really going to change the game for me because this agency was coming from somebody I really trusted. This agency was coming from someone that felt like family and home. And I really believed that this was going to be a big time for me. Yeah. And at that time, I started working at the tech company, was focusing on my acting classes, was like, I'm going to do this. I ended up only getting like one audition a year with them. And I thought that was normal. I was like, oh, maybe your agents just don't get you that many auditions.
Yeah. But no. And
I think it was like a really ignorant time for me. Like I just didn't know. Yeah. And I wasn't surrounding myself with people who are in my industry. So I didn't know what the standard was. Yeah. And I think that, I could look back on it and be like, I just want to shake my younger self and be like, Demi, like you could have done so many things differently. But I think during that time, I was just hustling and trying to make peace with myself, make peace with the fact that I finally made it here, the burnout, the being exhausted in order for me to actually like recenter and refocus. Yeah. So
what, and was this the agency that was like,
this isn't, so let's get into the pandemic. The pandemic was a very pivotal time for me. Yeah. So working at the tech company, I started with them in 2018. So you and I just connected at the firm, and then I ended up going to the tech company. 2018 was having a blast, hee-hee-ha-haing. And just basically floating. Yeah. 2019, I really started to progress at this tech company and was barely having any auditions, was trying to self-submit. Did my first student film, was feeling on top of the world, was so excited. 2020, pandemic hit. So the pandemic hit, and I remember being locked in my house alone for 6 months. My roommate was gone. I was completely alone. Yeah. I was going stir crazy. I was like, what am I doing? What's going on? I was reassessing everything in my life. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? Something's going to give. I just know it. I know something's going to give. So end of 2020, I was like, okay, I'm going to start submitting for things myself. I'm going to really push myself out there and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And by the middle of 2021, I had a really pivotal audition.
Yeah.
And it was for a brand that I'm not going to name,
Mm-hmm.
but it was for a brand that I would love to work with one day.
Yeah.
And casting came back to me, and they rarely do this. Casting, you submit an audition and you never hear anything. But casting actually came back to me and said, hey, this brand doesn't want to work with you, but we have another brand that we know would love you, and we'd love to submit your stuff for them.
So wait, is this your agent that was like not great, or is this a new agent that you're with now when this is happening?
It's my agent that's not great.
Okay.
So I'm in the pandemic with my not so great agent.
Okay.
And I'm self-submitting because I'm not getting any auditions.
Okay.
Things are treacherous.
Yeah.
I'm feeling like, what's going on?
Yeah.
I feel like things are starting to open up. It's 2021.
Mm-hmm.
The industry is moving a little bit. I want to be a part of things.
Yeah.
So many people had left. Like, I can get an opportunity. Let me do this.
Did you ever find out like why you weren't getting so many auditions and stuff?
I think the next part of this.
Okay.
So basically, I submitted for this audition for this brand that I was like, oh, I want to work for them.
Mm-hmm.
Casting's like, no, we have another brand. I ended up working with that brand, and it was my first opportunity curve modeling.
Yeah.
And it was I can remember it as clear as day. It was so beautiful, and I felt so appreciated.
And you got this yourself.
Got this myself.
Yeah.
And I just felt so appreciated, and that started a relationship with that brand that was going to change the trajectory of my life for the next few years.
Yeah.
But with that being said, booking that job gave me the confidence to be like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Why am I not getting anything? I'm in acting classes. I'm getting good notes. I just booked a curve modeling. I could be doing something.
Yeah.
So I decided to call up my agent. And this is something that I just want to say that if your intuition is telling you to do something, don't just sit back, because no one is going to advocate for you better than yourself.
Yeah.
And I wish that I could have told my younger self that more, but I was too afraid to speak up for myself.
Yeah.
And I think that took years of confidence and building up, because what's the worst thing someone's going to say?
No. Right?
And so I decided to call them, and I said, hey, I just did this job completely on my own. Why didn't you send me out for it? It just feels so confident that I could be curve modeling at the very least. Like, if you don't believe in my talent, I believe in my talent, and I know that I can do this. And the reality hit that it was a reality that I felt like I knew in my bones, but I didn't want to believe it.
Yeah.
They said, curve modeling, honey, you don't have the height, and you really don't have the body. You're not giving sexy curvy. You're giving fat, chubby best friend curvy. Direct quote. Direct quote.
Oh my
you
God.
are the fat friend behind the desk. You are the chubby best friend. You're not the curvy, sexy Latina. You're the chubby, friendly Latina friend. You're the ugly Betty. You're the ugly Betty archetype. God bless America for her, because she really paves the way for me. But being told directly that is how they think of me.
Yeah.
They don't like, that's how they're submitting me. They don't care. They don't care. They didn't care. They didn't know me as a person.
Yeah.
They didn't care to represent me. I remember hanging up with them, bursting into tears, and calling my mom. And I said, Mom, what do I do?
Yeah.
She says, you fire them. We let them go. We walk, and we're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think...
And that's what you did, right?
So I went ahead and fired them the next day. Sent them, thank you so much. Gotta go. And I think that we hear these stories, and we hear, especially women, especially women, being put in positions of, being torn apart. And I've been told, I've been bullied. I've been told that I'm fat. I've been told that I'm ugly. I've been told X, Y, and Z. Whatever. But being told by people who are supposed to be representing me and that are supposed to have my best interests at heart.
That's your team. That's, who they're supposed to be supporting you.
It was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But my mom is my momager. She's the boss. She's incredible, and I'm so blessed to have her. But she was like, we're going to figure this out. And within a week, I ended up having a conversation with my current manager. She's a queen.
Yeah.
And I remember meeting her for the first time, and she said, your mom's a little crazy. but I saw your photo, and I saw your reel, and I saw your clips.
Yeah.
And I want to work with you. I believe in you.
Yeah.
And it was the first time that I feel like in my entire life of being in this industry that I've had somebody look at me and be like, I believe in you. I believe in your talent. I believe that we can do this. I believe in all the things that you are dreaming of. And from there, that gave me the confidence to be like, I can do this. I can really do this.
Yeah.
And that direct no, being told, no, we're not going to submit you for these things, turned into a huge yes.
A huge blessing.
A huge blessing. One of my favorite blessings.
Yeah. I love that story. I mean, not obviously like what they said, but I love how that almost immediately led you to like full support, and you're still with them today, right?
Yes, I'm still with my manager.
Yeah.
And within 6 months, she wanted to, because she's no nonsense. So she wanted to make sure that I was, on my game, that I was going to submit things on time, that they were going to be good quality, that I actually was going to get good feedback from casting.
Yeah.
Within 6 months, I ended up getting signed with my current agency. I'm repped with them across the board. I couldn't love my entire team more.
Yeah.
They've done more for me in the 2 years of me being with them than I've ever had in my entire life.
Yeah.
And it's been incredible to see when you are supported and when you are surrounded by the right people, what can happen.
Yeah.
When other people believe in your dreams just as much as you, it's incredible.
Yeah. I think if we're feeling stuck and, we've been with a certain team for a certain amount of time, like it makes you really question, and like now you have that intuition too, like what is going on. So if you're in a similar experience, maybe you're working on a project, because now your team is great, but if you're working on a project or something, you have that intuition to think back, like I need to switch things around, like who am I surrounding myself with?
Absolutely. And it's from friends to family to the people, you have to be able to advocate for yourself no matter what it is. And I think that like I'm so proud of myself because I'm so much more fearless and I'm so much more brave to face confrontation in the face. And if somebody's going to tell me no or tell me something mean, oh well, what's the worst that's going to happen? I have to just keep moving. So it really, getting my team now has been my biggest blessing.
Yeah. And to touch on advocating for yourself, that's a hard skill to do. Like that's why people have attorneys, because like, no, really though, like the times I've had to advocate for myself, whatever it is, like those conversations are not easy. And a lot of people just won't have them because they're like, oh no, I just don't want to, like, but even though you're worth it, and the answer could very likely be yes. And if it's no, now you have more information to make a different decision about, like if you want to stay or whatever it is. But I think women especially need to learn how to be better advocates for themselves. And it's really hard. And I've been in groups and like professional organizations and stuff to help build that skill. But that is like, and if you're the only one advocating for yourself when you have a whole team who's supposed to be advocating for you, it's tough, man.
You have to believe in yourself and your dreams enough to be fearless, to let go and know that no matter what happens, it's going to work out. And I think that's in that moment, I knew that I could speak up for myself and that I deserve so much more in this lifetime and the immediate present and my near future, that I can just let go and whatever's going to happen is going to happen. So I completely agree.
Yeah. So are rewinding, going back a little bit. Which one is it? So the job or the brand that you didn't end up working for because they decided to go a different direction, but then you worked with this other brand who's been really pivotal for you. Let's talk about how it's been really pivotal for you.
Okay, so once I got signed with my manager and the content came out for that campaign, I was like, let me just post this campaign, see what happens. And I, up to this point had a basic little Instagram, like just my friends, whatever cute little photos I took out and about, nothing serious. My followers, my few followers at that time lost their minds. They were like, we're so proud of you. This is incredible. We love this content so much. And I was not expecting that kind of support. And I thought that I was just going to post a little cute little hee like, this is so cute. I'm so excited about this. But my followers at the time were like overwhelmingly supportive.
Yeah.
And then I started to get a few more followers.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a brand reach out to me, and I was like, okay,
To like work with you.
Yeah, to work with me. And I was like, am I becoming an influencer? Because I think that I am.
Yeah.
Mind you, I'm still working at the tech company. I'm still trying to make sure that my manager is, you know, feeling like I'm on my P's and Q's and getting my work done for my auditions. And I was just still working my normal job. And I will say that I was absolutely miserable. I was really going through it. I was still working a corporate job, trying to just, I was waiting for my big breakthrough, my big audition. Like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? I can't let go of this job because I need this security. And then came one of my biggest no's. It was July of 2022. I got let go. I got let go in one of the huge tech layoffs that was happening last year.
Yeah.
And
that was just last year?
It was last year.
Wow. You've literally done so much since then. Like, it feels like you've been just doing this for years. It's
been exactly 1 year, basically, that I've been full-time. So what happened was July of 2022, July 15th, I end up getting I end up logging into work like it's going to be a normal day. Complete mayhem. I'm getting calls, texts, people freaking out. And then my big boss calls me, tells me that I've been let go. I shed a few tears. And I'm talking to my coworkers, and there's probably like, I would say 3 or 4 hours that I'm like, what am I going to do? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I feel this overwhelming level of peace. And I'm like, you know what? It's going to be okay. I know that it's going to be okay. I don't know why. I'm just delusional enough to know that it's going to be okay.
I love it.
I know it's going to be okay because I was like, something good is going to happen. And within that same time frame, leading up to this point, I was like going to the gym very consistently. I was posting. I started doing my little influencing thing, like trying to figure it out. Just posting my regular gym photos and gym content, and just like my accountability. Like, I made it. Did you make it too?
I'm always like, no, I didn't.
Kenya's like, no, it's a rest day.
Yeah. Demi always posts like little polls or whatever. And she's like, I made it. I'm here. I did not make it. And I'm always like, I did not make it today.
But that's a best friend, because that's engagement, babe.
Exactly.
That is my engagement. And I love you for it. But I started to post these things. And then a brand that I have loved for years reached out to me. And they were like, hey, we're shooting a new campaign end of July.
Yeah.
Do you want to shoot it with us? It's going to be in New York. And I had agreed to it basically that same week that I got let go. So I said, okay, I got let go. We're going to New York, baby. Yeah. And then I went to New York, and it was such a pivotal trip for me. I felt so free. This was the first time in years that I wasn't like breaking my back, working, and just overwhelmed with that level of mental stress.
Yeah.
And then I got to do basically my first big modeling opportunity. And it was so cool because I was meeting women that I low-key was fangirling over for a long time. I don't know if I'll say the brand because I love them. Illis, like a huge shout out to Illis. Because not only do they represent women that look like me, but they gave me my first opportunity to be a curvy woman in the fitness space to model. And it was such a special, special moment.
Yeah.
And I just felt so valued and appreciated. And then when I was able to post those pictures, my followers, again, lost their minds. And I was like, there's really something here.
Yeah.
There's something special here. And I'm starting to feel like I'm building a community.
Yeah.
So it was that moment when I was able to post that in end of August. So I came back from New York. It was my birthday. And I was just like, okay, kind of floating, like what's going to happen? But I remember posting those photos and being like, okay, something's going to give.
Yeah. And
I would say that I kind of took some time off, like to just figure out what's going to happen, and like doing random auditions here and there. And in November of 2022 was when I really like started to put the pedal to the metal. And I was moving. I started working with several new brands. One of my biggest being Adore Me. I feel like I have to mention them because they have been completely life-changing. They reached out to me, and I did my very first campaign with them. And I was like, am I going to really post in my undies online? I was told my entire life to not post in my undies online. Like, don't put those photos out there. And I said, my mom's behind the camera, like, you've got this,
Yeah.
You're doing great. And
Yeah.
it turned out to be one of the biggest blessings that could have happened to me.
Yeah.
That fearlessness that I'm going to be like, you know what? I'm confident enough to show up for myself in this way that
Yeah.
I believe others can do the same.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. And that's one of the things where it's like you really took up space and like you did it in a loud but graceful way. And you really are paving the path. And like I feel like you're opening doors. Even just sharing your story today, I think there's a lot more people who have gone through what you've experienced than have been open about it.
thank you. Thank you. It's really tricky because I want to represent anybody that feels represented by me. I am not, I'm teetering. I'm not necessarily plus size, but I'm not necessarily mid size, and I teeter a small line. And I'm not small, and I will be perceived by whoever, however,
Yeah.
like people are gonna take me in differently, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, like what's so important to me is for people to just feel beautiful just the way they are in that moment. And sometimes we can't always pick body positivity, and we have to pick body neutrality and just accepting and being thankful for the fact that we woke up that day. And I think that on my days that it's not, always rainbows and sunshine, being able to be like, you know what, I'm alive, I'm blessed, I'm thankful that I'm walking, and we're just gonna keep it pushing. And then the next day I'm like, I'm the baddie, I'm the baddest in the room. And we have these highs and these lows, but like I'm just so thankful that I really feel like I've built a community. And like when I receive DMs from girls being like, thank you for representing me, or thank you for pushing me to go to the gym today, or thank you for just posting and being you. It makes me so emotional, because it's like, again, all I've ever wanted to do this lifetime is represent.
Yeah. And I really like how even on your Instagram, like you are honest when you have hard days. And I think being able to show kind of both sides of the days where we're feeling like the baddie, right? And also the days when we're kind of feeling like the saddie.
Yeah, because I'm definitely a baddie, but can also be a settie.
Yeah.
I am a little sensitive, girly, but it's so important, because I think people think body positivity is rainbows and sunshine all the time, and that we're promoting obesity. And I get crazy comments. You're promoting obesity. Like,
whatever.
This is fat positivity is not good.
Yeah.
I'm like,
shut the
I'm like, when was the
up.
last time you went to the gym? Because I just hip thrusted 300 pounds today, bud. And I don't know why it's always men coming for me, but I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you, but it is, vulnerability is key. And I think that people are afraid to be vulnerable, but as an actor, like my vulnerability and my heart, I know, is one of the things that have gotten me this far.
It's your superpower.
My acting teacher tells me all the time.
Really?
I know that empathy, and the empathy that, and I think that my circle, my close people, you all know who you are, but like your level of empathy is what makes me feel so powerful. My support group, just everybody makes me feel like I'm able to be this vulnerable. Yeah. Because I feel safe. I feel safe, and I feel loved and supported, that when I get a mean comment, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting, your relationship with the gym and working out too. Because even though like that was a really hard time in your life, the pageants is what I'm talking about, and how you kind of had to pivot from that and kind of regroup mentally, I think you were still paving the way for other people who are like you to be able to do that. And now, having healed more and done more introspection, now being on this modeling journey too, and being able to be vulnerable about your struggles too, is just the transformation of the path you're creating. Like it started out really great, and it's evolving into something like even greater.
Thank you for saying that, because fitness it's a journey. And I think fitness is quite literally a lifestyle. And for me, it's been a core part of my mental health. Like, I started going to the gym with my dad when I was 13, because my dad is a huge gym bro. Not because my dad felt like I needed to lose weight, not because he wanted me to do something different with my body. He just wanted to teach me how to lift. And it was a really sweet, like, bonding experience for us. But then it evolved, just like all things do. And my fitness journey has had its highs and its lows. And I think that like people see the gym or see fitness and they're like, like either that's not for me, or like it's something that I don't want to be a part of. Like if you allow it to be, it can improve your life. It can improve your mental health. It can make you feel better.
Yeah.
And at this point, it feels like it's like a fashion show. Like my outfits are always, I'm having a lot of fun with that. But like, thank you for saying that, because fitness really is something that's for everybody and for whoever wants to go, for whoever wants to show up. And I think the gym, even to this day, is a very tough industry. It's a tough industry for me to say that I'm a part of. I even get looks when I say that I'm a gym rat, because people are like, are you
I'm like, have you seen her quads? Because
thank you.
The quads are quadding.
The quads are quadding. The glutes are gluting. But like, I'm a strong girl. I'm fit, and my blood work says that I'm healthy. For all those people that are like, you're not healthy, blah 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 blah. But like, the gym is a space for everyone, and I am so thankful that like I just started by posting some silly pictures for accountability, and now I have a whole TikTok dedicated to me showing up and going to the gym and talking into my little mic and saying whatever I want. Like I have a whole gym community. I have a gym family, and like it's become a really special place for me. And I think that fitness is always going to be something that's important to me, because it's a part of my mental health. Feeling strong makes me feel empowered, and I've had the opposite transition. I am the heaviest I've ever been in my life, and I am the strongest. I have more muscle mass. I'm the healthiest that I've been in many, many years. Yeah. And I'm so proud of that. And so your weight does not correlate to your health, and what you look like doesn't necessarily equate to your fitness level.
Yeah. And there's so I want to talk about New York Fashion Week. Can you get us there? I'm like so excited.
Okay, you're so cute.
Let's just jump to the
So we're like really on this influencer journey. I lost my job. So I mentioned Adore Me. November of 2022. From there, I started working with brands. I started posting more. I've really am doing the whole influencing thing, right? And I've done several campaigns with Adore Me. And then in August, it was so funny. It was my 30th birthday this year. So just a few months ago. Yeah. My 30th birthday. And I was kind of feeling strange. I was like, I always want more. This is just who I am. I think it's me being a Leo. Like, I just want more all the time. And I want to be further ahead than I am. Yeah. And I wanted to go to New York for my birthday. And in some way, I feel like this was a no. I told myself, nah, it's not right. We're not going to go right now. We're going to go to New York before the end of the year. I know it. Yeah. And I had my birthday. I spent it with you.
Ooh, you did.
Thank you. Yeah. And I didn't do much. I kept it low key. The next week, I ended up getting an email that I was invited to not only my first influencer event, but my first New York Fashion Week. Yeah. With Adore Me.
So cool.
I still can't get over it.
I know.
I literally remember sitting at my computer being like, does this say I'm going to New York Fashion Week? Yeah. And I screamed at the top of my lungs. Yeah. And my mom was like, you're going! Oh my God! And immediately I started to scramble to figure out just all the details and everything. Yeah. And so I ended up going to New York, and I've been to New York so many times. New York has been such a pivotal part of my life. I love New York. New York.
Oh my God. I think we should share that really quick because we're here. But so me and Demi, obviously we're best friends. And whenever we go out, sometimes we have a little bit where I tell people she's from New York. And then she says,
I'm from New York. I'm from Brooklyn. Bushwick. The gentrification is crazy.
Yeah, that's just our bit. We can't explain it, but that's what we do.
It is what it is. I love New York. But I ended up going to New York, and it was like a whirlwind. I landed, and I was just immediately getting ready for New York Fashion Week. Yeah. And I remember getting dressed with a girl. Shout out to Cassie. She's so lovely. But I ended up getting dressed with her and having her help me put on my corset. This is somebody that's been my internet friend for a few months now. Yeah. And I ended up pulling up to the venue for the show. And it was such a surreal moment. I had people that all knew who I was. I had no idea who they were because I haven't put, names to faces. And they were like, Demi, like, oh my gosh, it's so nice to meet you. And I just had so many people coming up to me, and I got to meet women that I look up to. And like, as of this moment in time, I don't have that many followers, but I was meeting women who were excited to meet me with hundreds of thousands of followers, millions of followers. And it was so surreal, but I say that to say that, like, I was also so proud of myself in that moment because I have built genuine connections. I have built the community that I do have. And, like, I've worked really hard to be proud of the creations that I've made thus far. So at New York Fashion Week, I'm there and I'm just feeling so much love from the Adore Me team and just everybody that's involved, all the influencers.
Yeah.
Very surreal. Like,
it was like all of the no's kind of made sense in that moment. Like, you're finally on the path that you're supposed to be on, kind of thing.
I'm in a room holding a glass of champagne, looking out over the balcony at this runway, being like, literally a year ago, I lost my corporate job. I didn't know what I was going to do. I had one brand under my belt and I barely started with my agency. And here I am, like, in New York.
Yeah.
At my first New York Fashion Week, and I just feel so loved and appreciated, and just I was just so blessed. I was feeling so blessed. I watched the show. It was so magical, and then ended up having one moment that I do want to share. Iskra is the model that opened up the show, and she's a model that I met in 2019. And I remember talking to her at a women's conference 2019, so several years ago, and we just had such a beautiful conversation. I told her, I want to curve model. I just don't know how. I want to do it. She told me, you're going to do it. You're going to make it happen one way or another. I just know it. We talked for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I go to the after party. I'm like, I had a shot of tequila, but the drinks weren't flowing just yet. I feel like that's important to mention. But I'm walking through this rooftop club. Absolutely gorgeous, surrounded by so many people I look up to.
Yeah.
And then I see Iskra. And she's sitting at a table. And I walk up to her table. I'm just going to be like, hi, I met you in 2019. This woman's, she looks at me and goes, oh my God. And she stands up, basically like almost crawls over the table.
Yeah.
And she goes, honey, I'm so sorry. I can't remember your name, but we met in 2019 and
she
you're
remembered
here right now.
Wow.
She said, you started modeling?
I have chills.
And I said, I did it. I'm doing it. I start to sob because she was just so proud of me.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was one of those moments that I was in such a low place at that time. I was so lost. I was so confused. And I met somebody who I looked up to so much. And the impact I made on her is what she told me was so powerful. And it doesn't matter where you are in your journey, as long as you are still remaining true to yourself, like, you don't know who you're going to impact.
Yeah.
And so that was just such an incredible moment for her to be so proud of me. Iskra has 5 million followers on Instagram. Iskra has been in so many major campaigns.
Yeah.
She's just as beautiful and incredible as you might think she is. But, like, even one of your role models might be looking up to you. And that was one of those moments that blew my mind.
Yeah.
And so then we had a blast, and the rest of the weekend in New York was absolutely crazy. But, like, that New York fashion, I can't believe I went to my first New York Fashion Week.
I was so excited. I was like, oh, my friend's going to New York Fashion Week. No big deal.
And I'm gearing up for
actually, big deal. Big fucking deal.
And now I'm gearing up for my next.
Yes. So I think your story is so, just to kind of recap here, like, all of the no's, you found a way to be stronger because of them. And even in this moment where you got let go from your job and it felt like, in the moment, probably like a way that the world was ending, you're like, oh shit, like, that was a really pivotal moment for you, for your modeling and all of the opportunities that came after that.
Every time I have, like, told myself no, like, I think that a way that we can tell ourselves no is with self-doubt.
Yeah.
And like, self-pity and wallowing and being like, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to figure this out? Every single time I have a moment like that. And maybe I'm delusional. Maybe I have relentless faith. I truly, I'm very spiritual, and, like, I know that I have not gone through everything in this lifetime that I have gone through and made it to this point without there being something larger than myself, like, and having faith that every single no is going to work out one way or another. Like, I think my relentless faith truly has brought me to this moment. And, like, every single time I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, I'm not doing enough. I'm not working hard enough. an email will pop up for a collaboration, or I'll get an audition, and there's little signs around us that are telling us, yes, you can do this. So I just have to keep going one way or another.
And here's the big question. Looking back, are you thankful for all of the no's?
I'm thankful for every single no that has happened. I think that they've made me stronger. They've made me wiser. And they've taught me so much about myself and how loved and supported I am, and how much of a community I do have around me. And I think that those are things that are irreplaceable.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So last question, what advice would you give to someone who's struggling to like break free of a particular mold and really come out in their own path?
Okay. So the first thing I need you to do is to not be so hard on yourself. I know that's easier said than done, but I need you to pick neutrality. If that's the first thing we're going to do. If we can't think that we're the baddest in the room, we need to just at least know that we're living. We need to be like, baseline, I'm showing up, okay? And I'm going to show up for myself no matter how that looks like.
That was me the other day when I went to that holiday party, and I called Demi, I left her a voice note, and I was like, I'm going to this event. I've just been sick for a week, but I'm still going. Like, I'm not wearing any makeup. And I was like, I know we're always pretty without makeup, but I look fucking sick, and I'm just going anyways. And I get there, and it was like a really big deal kind of party. And I remember like immediately going right to the bathroom, like putting makeup on my cheeks to like try and look more alive. And I ran into that girl who was the girl dinner girl, which is and girl dinner is like, you know, whatever you can scavenge together for those who don't know. And I remember like so random, like I had a picture of a girl dinner in my phone that I actually showed her. I told you that, right?
Yes. You just don't know what's gonna happen. You don't know who you're gonna meet, and like because you showed up for yourself, you said, I'm gonna do this anyways. I feel atrocious, I feel ugly, but I'm gonna show up for myself anyways. And that's what's important, because you never know what's going to happen. You don't know what's gonna come from it. So I think that if somebody's trying to, if there's an industry or something that they want to do, or if they just want to exist in a higher level of themselves, you just need to show up for yourself bare minimum at first. And slowly the positive things that you do for yourself and the way that you start speaking to yourself and start to pour love and kindness into yourself, it's going to reflect outwardly. And you're going to be able to see things come to fruition. You're going to get those opportunities. Doors are going to open. But you have to love on yourself first. And you have to know how wonderful and powerful you are.
Aw, Demi, this has been such a great conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us and your struggles and how you overcame everything. And I'm just so glad that we were able to do this today.
Kenya, I am, without crying, I'm going to try my hardest. I'm so proud of you. And I think that you holding this space, I remember when this really came to fruition, I was just in awe.
Aww.
Because this is everything that I believe. Like, I genuinely think that life gives us trials and tribulations, and we get so many no's thrown in our faces, but it's about perseverance. And you are somebody that is such a beautiful example of that. Aww. And I am just so proud of everything that you've done up until this point, and the space that you're holding for all of us and with every episode. So I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. And before we log off, do you want to tell people where they can find you, what you got going on, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So my Instagram is Queen Demi. Honestly, fun fact, that came out of the pageant days. My friends would call me Queen Demi. And guess what? I've had many Demi Lovato fan accounts try to buy it off me. So it's sticking for the rest of my life.
That's funny.
And then TikTok, Demi_Mundo. And if you want any gym content, just want to hee ha ha with me, find me there.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Follow and subscribe to the Thank You for Saying No podcast, and you'll get every episode as soon as it's released.